Folks, welcome back to another edition of the Play Action Pod, our first golf podcast. It's Masters Week, or at least it's almost Masters Week. We got a special guest, Steve Schirmer from the Golf Gambling Pod, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Steve, thanks a lot for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. And I always use an excuse to talk about Masters with anybody. So yeah, I am very happy to break it down tonight.
The Masters is, I think it's become over the last few years like my favorite number one sporting event of the year. I love it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a 4-day event of just a beautiful golf course, and the production value is really good. Like CBS does a really good job presenting it. All the Green Jackets spend a ton of money and capital in order to make sure that it is, more of a television event, like that they tell a story behind it, that they build up drama. And I think that's why the Masters is just so special and definitely the best of all four majors.
Obviously, the drama right now surrounds Tiger Woods. Looks like he's going to be playing, teeing it up at Augusta again. I mean, his outright numbers, obviously he won a couple years ago, but his outright numbers they're just so inflated from the public, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. And I think all the books right now are probably about to pop some champagne bottles about this news because, listen, this was a guy about a year ago that it looked like he was going to lose his leg. It was a horrific car accident. We didn't know he was going to be playing again. And on top of that, people are forgetting this. He was actually rehabbing his back injury at that point too. Yep. So not only has he been trying to rehab the back, which he's had, 5 surgeries on, he tried to fix, a broken leg too. So yeah, he played the father-son back in December. He looked okay. He was hitting wedge shots pretty well, but it didn't look like he could go full bore with the driver. And that's the one thing you have to do well at the Masters. You have to drive it really well. And it's a very hilly walk there. There's a lot of elevation changes. It's not an easy walk for him. It's one thing to walk a Florida golf course like he was doing. It's another thing to walk here. So, I was skeptical about him playing. I kind of thought that maybe it had something to do with there's something called the PIP, where basically just a popularity contest. Maybe this was a way of him getting his name out there in order to rise with that. But if he does play, that's great. That might be an opportunity for us gamblers to maybe fade him in a matchup or just avoid him. He's not going to win. I think a reasonable expectation would be around when in 2015 when he was fighting a lot of swing issues and chipping yips, and he still finished top 20. I think if you want to bet Tiger, I think that might be the route for you. You could probably get that maybe around 2-1, 3-1 or something. But other than that, though, I think it would be really good for everybody to keep their expectations low for Tiger this week.
Yeah, so we got a prop sheet going over at Play Action Pools. We got a few Tiger questions in there, obviously. We'll give you 2 of them. One of them is will he make the cut or not? The other is overall finishing position over under 34.5.
Well, it's, you see a lot of these old timers, they can go there just because they have so much experience and moxie, and it's really a big thing at the Masters to know the golf course and know how to get their way around. So, even if he is only 80% Tiger, he can still make the cut. it's the top 50 in ties make it. I'm not sure if they have the 10-shot rule at all, but there's only, 80 guys. So he only has to really beat 30, 35 guys in order to do it. And there's going to be some clunkers at the top who don't do well. There's some guys in this field as well that probably don't have any business being there. There's some past champions who absolutely have no business being here. So, yeah, I think it's a reasonable expectation to just think, yeah, he can make the weekend. I think that's a fair number that you said on 34. Was it 34.5?
34.5.
I think it's a very fair. I'm going to say probably, I'll say over, but not by that much. I think he's going to be hanging around maybe top 40 for the week.
Let me ask you a couple more here. We got lowest score golfer, any round, any golfer, 64.5.
So anytime you want to do these scoring props, it really depends on the weather, and that really drives where basically the low rounds are going to be, or just where the winning score is. So, looking ahead at next week's forecast, it looks a little dicey. Now, I have a lot of data as far as meteorological data, as far as, how the weather has impacted scoring over the years. And what I've noticed is that anytime the weather is under 70 degrees, anytime that there is a significant wind, and anytime that wind is coming from a north or westerly direction, scoring is really tough. And it seems like, even though the golf course might play a little soft because they've had rain, at least 3 of those days they're going to have those conditions. So I think it's going to be tough scoring. Sometimes you still see guys in adverse conditions still put up 65, but there haven't really been a whole lot of 64s the last couple of years. I think the last time we had a 64 at this tournament was back in 2019, and that was optimal conditions. It was soft, it was warm, like the ball was flying. It allowed for it. And I don't think this tournament's going to really allow for somebody to go super low. So I'm going to say over on that too.
Okay, 2 more before we get to the salary cap stuff. Rahm, top 5, finish top 5, yes or no?
I'm going to say no. The one thing at Augusta National that you need to do well, you need to be really good around the greens, and you got to be able to putt. Now, look, he's been here a bunch, and he's had some really good finishes, but he's been really struggling around the green with the putter for the last couple tournaments, and that's really hurt him, in some of these finishes where, he's hitting it to 10, 15 feet. He can't convert the putt, or he's missing 3-4 footers. And, if you don't have a whole lot of confidence with the putter going into Augusta National, that's not the place where it's going to turn around. So I'm going to say over on that too.
How about Scotty Scheffler, top 10 finish, yes or no?
I think a yes. He's got a couple things going on. First of all, he's a great player. He's finally, we were waiting for him to actually emerge as this force, and he's done it. He's won 3 times this year, and he has a really good major record. He's got top 10s in all the other majors. I think he has a couple top 20s here, but I think what's going to help him is that he's got Ted Scott, Bubba Watson's old caddy, on the bag, and he helped shepherd Bubba to 2 wins at the Masters. I think this is going to be a good performance for Scotty Scheffler. I'm not breaking any news with that, but yeah, I actually feel very good about Scotty Scheffler finishing inside the top 10 this week.
Okay. So for our salary cap format, what we do is we say, hey, you can pick up to 10 golfers. You can pick as few as you want, but up to 10. Your salary cap is determined by their average points in the world golf ranking. You get 30, and you just get whatever money they end up walking away with. Those are your points. So taking a look at, we kind of mentioned Rahm and Scheffler already. A couple other guys kind of towards the top of the board. What are your thoughts on Collin and Hovland and Cantlay?
So those guys haven't really done a whole lot at the Masters. Cantlay, I think, was a co-leader back in 2019 when Tiger won, but everybody was a co-leader, and he kind of faded once, he was in the spotlight. But, Cantlay has been having problems with his irons, so I'm not really a big fan of that. Hovland, the one thing about him is that he's been really bad around the green. That's actually cost him a couple wins. He could have easily won the Players. Hit the ball great that week. He could not get up and down from off the green anytime he missed. And, like I mentioned with Rahm, having a balky off the, around the green game is really bad. But I think he can finish in the top 10. I think the guy, like most there, is Collin Morikawa. I mean, look, does he have a tremendous success at the Masters? No, I think he has one top 20. But, he went to the Open Championship. He won it his first time. The kid can win anywhere. When you're that good of a ball striker, he's good. And he mentioned something in an interview a couple weeks ago that, so many guys try and fit their game to Augusta National, and basically that means you got to hit a draw. Well, he has so much confidence and ability in himself that, he doesn't hit that great, but he has such a, he's really strong hitting the ball left or right, that he feels like he can hit any shot there and make any, get any pin. So I like the fact that he's going to go in with his own game and be comfortable and not try and be something he's not. So, yeah, I think Collin Morikawa, especially if it's going to be a little tougher scoring conditions where maybe you don't have to have a putter as you need to have, he can struggle sometimes. I think he's going to be the best of that group. Okay.
And obviously with this format, you're picking, some guys at the top of the board to anchor your team, some guys in the middle that can kind of, maybe they get in there and win it or still, top 5 finish. And then you got to round out your team with the, some guys at the bottom. Who are some players that you think listeners should really look at and consider adding to their roster?
Brooks Koepka right now just is 20th or he's 19th in the world, and based on where his average world ranking points are, that's basically mid-tier at this point. And he's been quiet a little bit this summer. He's a little bit under the radar, but he's playing actually pretty good. He almost won the Phoenix Open. He finished top 15 at the Honda Classic. He finished top 15 at the Valspar. He's been hitting the ball pretty good. He played okay at match play last week, and you kind of notice with Brooks that on the eve of a major, he tends to start peaking a little bit, and he's been playing good. So, he's also entering this little period too where guys who have between 7 and 13 starts at the Masters, their expected strokes gain tends to go up. He's in that window now, so I think this is kind of setting up for a really good performance. I think that's one guy you can target. I think another guy is Matthew Fitzpatrick. He's been playing great. He has 4 top 10 finishes in his last 6 starts. He has a top 10 here back in 2016. That was a very difficult, cold Masters. If we're going to get that next week, I like him there. And then some guys down at the bottom, like real dumpster diving. You got Robert McIntyre, who's actually playing down in Valero. He played pretty well, today. He's only worth about 1.9 points with their world ranking points. But this is a guy who tends to play pretty tough golf courses pretty well. And, the Masters, the Open Championship kind of go hand in hand as far as, like, you need craftiness, you need, skills. Like, you just need to, like, find ways to, get around the golf course and put it in the hole. And at those events, he's got, I think, 2 top 10s in the Open Championships. He's got top 12 at the Masters in his debut last year. In fact, he's playing pretty well. He played well at Riviera. That's usually a comp to playing well at Augusta National. I like him. And then if you want to go way down, close to about 90th in the world, Gary Woodland. He is outperforming what his world ranking is right now. He had a 5th place finish at Arnold Palmer Invitational. He had a 5th place finish, I think, at the Valspar. He ended up having a good finish to the Valero Texas Open today. Maybe he has a good finish. He's riding some momentum. He's got a couple top 25s at the Masters. He has, I think, 8 starts under his belt, so he has plenty of experience. So those are some guys I might want to target in this contest.
That's enough, because everyone that's going to be in my contest is going to be watching that, and I can't have them stealing all the tricks and stuff. Do you have any, if people want to make a real wager, any outright guys or any, obviously the matchups haven't come out yet, but any outrights or top 10 or 20 finishes that you really like?
I mean, none of the positional props have really come out yet. I think when you mentioned Scotty Scheffler top 10, I think that's probably one I'm going to bet. I can expect that probably to be around like plus 250, plus 300, just depending. Well, you know what? His odds are going to be up, so maybe maybe those odds will be great. But I do expect him to be a top 10, so I think if you get good odds, that's great. Right now, though, as far as where the outright market is, we're kind of in a weird place. It seems like the books are very terrified of getting over leveraged on the top guys. There are right now, I think, 12 guys under 20-1, which is unsustainable. Some of those guys are going to drift. I think some of those guys might be Morikawa. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of steam on him. Xander, everyone seems to be out on him because of match play. I think he's a viable option. Rory didn't get off to a very good start at the Valero today. His number could shift too. So I think maybe if you want to get, maybe wait, see where some of the odds go, because some of these guys are going to go past 20. And if that happens, that's going to provide some value, because, the top tier of this, of golf right now, like the top 14, 15, 16 guys, they're all really good. And it really just comes down to whose turn is it. And they're all capable of winning the Masters. So maybe wait a little bit, see how things kind of play out early in the week, and then go from there. But otherwise, if you're looking for somebody a little bit long shot, some of the guys I mentioned, like a Fitzpatrick, Adam Scott right now I think is around like 60, 70-1. That's a viable option too. Brooks is hanging around maybe like 20-1. Maybe wait for him to drift a little bit. But I think those are some guys that maybe if you want to get some money down now, that maybe get in a little early before they start to rise. I think like a Fitzpatrick or Adam Scott probably will rise during the week, so it might be good to get your money down now. All
right, Steve, thanks a lot. Tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm not on Twitter. That's kind of my little bit. But, you can find me on our Slack channel where I'm always available. You can ask me any question you want. I provide a lot of information, charts, all that stuff, and that doesn't have a character count. So you can find me on Slack. It's on all my articles on sportsgamblingpodcast.com. There's a little link there. And then, I do 2 columns a week there. My co-host Boston Capper and I, we do the Golf Gambling Podcast Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We got a big week next week. So, come join us, and we'll try and pick some winners.
Steve, we really appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot. Good luck next week.